What's up, NKU? It's your dad and moms, Anna, Mariah, and Landon. And we're here to talk about a few things with you today. So I'm Landon Meador. I'm a political science major. I'm a sophomore from Westchester, Ohio. And my favorite pasta would have to be fettuccine alfredo.
Hi, everyone. My name's Anna Riesing. I'm going to be a sophomore at NKU. I am a management major. I live in Park Hills, Kentucky, and my favorite type of pasta is rotini.
Hello, everyone. I am Mariah Frommeyer. I am a sophomore. My major is accounting and finance. I'm from Alexandria, Kentucky, and my favorite pasta has to be lasagna.
So today we are going to talk about the benefits and the differences between in-person learning and virtual learning at NKU. And as you can tell, we are on Zoom making this PowerPoint, which is how it'll look for most of your classes in the upcoming year. So, as you know already, this fall is going to look a lot different for NKU. There's 4 different types of classes. You have in-person, which is face-to-face, online, which will be fully online, but no scheduled class meetings. A hybrid system, which will bounce back and forth between online and then specific in-time or in-person meetings. And then the online synchronous version, which will have Zoom calls or other type of face-to-face virtual calls through the year with the professor instructing the class.
And as you can see from the US News, in 2012, 13, and 14, there were more college students taking in-person courses and actually being physically on the campus. But in 2020, due to COVID, almost all of the universities have been forced to go more to an online learning format. And as you can see in this chart, it's indicated, it's definitely more than 4 or 5 times what we've seen in the previous years, and we don't know where this will go in the following years because there is no end date to this. We don't know if we are nearing the end, if we're on the slower track to getting closer with a vaccine, but as of now, it's up in the air and we're still continuing to do these methods.
And this is good. This isn't the worst thing ever. Online has a lot of benefits that we'll talk about. So definitely this is not something that should be like a hard negative for you.
Just something to get used to. A lot of switching around, no regular schedule or plans, which I know is like hurting me because I just want to know, but a lot of used to with COVID. So
it's been hard. But yeah, so if you're wondering how we got here, in December, that's when COVID kind of first started, then continued on through January. At the end of January, the United States had its first confirmed death. January 30th, it becomes a national global health emergency. And then February 29th, we had the first death in the United States. And cases continue to rise as we go. So most colleges have switched to an online format just with the amount of students that are on campus. So that'll kind of set us up. And yeah, now we move forward to how online classes can actually be pretty good for you.
there are many benefits to in-person learning. There's less distractions in the classroom than you'll be at home because there's no one, you're in your class, you have your classmates and not like you're at home, you have your parents, your siblings. In the classroom setting, one can hear real life examples and different opinions from both the teachers and your students. Like you can hear each one talk, and I know you can do that online, but there's just something about face-to-face interaction that just helps everyone. A classroom situation, it gives a better chance for success. Completion rate of teacher-led courses is almost 5 times higher than online formats.
And it's hard going to online from NKU just because of how small NKU classes are already, that you have a real good connection with your professor and with your classmates. Definitely in person. It's all, most of your professors will know your name, know a lot about you just because of the small class sizes.
Yeah, there already is a lot of personalization that comes specifically at NKU through that. But I feel like, as she said before, that online can give it more personalization, individualization, that one-on-one connection. I know from the previous semester that more professors, I felt like, reached out, were checking on us, making sure everything was good, making sure that not only our schoolwork was okay and we were benefiting, but that we were okay. And I felt that that was not only something that they had to do, that they wanted to do, because they were checking on us as individuals and making sure we were okay.
And just in person, it's just more comfortable because you're familiar to like the classroom setting. You've done it your whole life basically. But I know like when we went online, and I know I'm sure Anna and Landon can say the same. When we went online when COVID hit, like, I just really didn't know what to do, and all the classes were changing, and I was just like, it just seemed like more harder for me personally. But a student can gain further knowledge on subjects by observing their professors and students, just the reactions and body language. And it can be easier to connect in a classroom instead of online, because you have to be at a set time, be in the classroom, and not just like random online schedules.
One thing I did notice too was that with this past semester and having COVID affect the classroom was that I paid more attention to, you know, obviously you see people go in and out, but I think you see and you pay more attention to names when they pop up, and you can reach out to people. And maybe if you're more introverted and you're shyer and that's not really your thing, it's easier for you to reach out to a classmate and ask for the help, or get to know people outside of that classroom setting where it might be harder for people to approach others and ask for help or to study together, whatever that might be. But I found that to be something, I don't know about you guys, but that you can do with that online format.
Definitely. Getting to know people is so huge, and finding connections with people is really important. And it's hard. You know, I think we say it's hard now that we're online, but it's really not. I think it's just something we haven't done before. So
Yeah.
It does take away the in-person. You know, if you are one of those people who it's hard to greet people in person or to be able to talk to people for the first time in person, it's easier online, because I mean, most of us have spent a good chunk of our life on our phones, on social media, stuff like that. So it does make it a little bit easier.
Especially since we are a commuter campus, and that is, you know, that adds a different function to it. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yep. Some of the benefits of virtual learning, and this is really where I thrived, is flexibility. So you have your whole schedule kind of laid in front of you, and it's kind of your own pace. You know, we talked about some of those set time meetings over the course of a week. So for those, you do have to be there in person, but everything else is really at your own leisure. And that's the same with college as a whole. But online, it does make it easier. And like with the organization aspect of it, it's at your own time. You have all the content and material right in front of you. It's all online. There's no, you know, there's less papers and stuff being passed around, distributed. So the chance of you losing stuff or not having stuff is much less than it has been in the past. And the focus on the students, you know, it's hard right now. And so the professors really, I think, will aim to make everyone as comfortable as possible, to make sure all the questions will be answered. Office hours will look different, but it should be easier for students because most of the time, we're at our own homes. And you have that flexibility. You're not cutting as much time out for in-person classes. So it kind of just, it goes with the flow that you want it to, for the most part.
Yeah. And then the second one, focusing on students, it definitely, as we said, it levels the playing ground. Everyone's kind of on the same methods of communication, of learning. Everyone is, you know, on that same ground, and we can do, I think you can do more with that, honestly. I mean, in class, you're limited to that time period, but online, it's a lot more. This kind of goes back to the flexibility of it all. You're able to do more with the different times that are allotted, and you can do different things with the people in that class.
And this might be too deep for this, but like for me, I always had, for the focus on the students part, I always tried to like look as good as possible when I went to school. And it took me a while in the morning, just like, you know, to like pick stuff out to wear and to like get ready for the day and everything. That's all gone now. Like if you're online, it does not matter at all.
No, that is the thing. And people can choose, especially if you have an online class at a certain time where you have to log in and be on Zoom and be in face-to-face with people. A lot of people, you know, obviously you can be put together in the top, but in the bottoms you can be wearing sweatpants or pajamas, whatever you want to do. So that's definitely added to that. But and because you are inside, there's little to no distraction, because you can be in an isolated area, which could be of great help to a lot of people who get distracted if you're not sitting in the front of the classroom and you got stuck in the back, or if you feel like you can't hear the professor. I mean, it's definitely more of that one-on-one connection we were talking about. And you don't have to pay for travel expenses, parking, money, for food. And there's a lot of different things I think that I realized added up once I got home, after that initial shock of what happened. It was like, oh, I don't have this to pay for. This fee is deducted. I think all of us got money returned to us from our parking pass for last semester. So that was nice. But that definitely adds up and can add to frustration during the college school year.
And it allows, if you want to, and I don't know if all professors will be doing this, but you can do it, a recording of lectures. So now you record your screen, or if they post stuff afterwards, you always have the lecture on hand, which is really good. So especially if you can, if you're in person, you can't hear your professor sometimes, now you have everything recorded and ready to go whenever you need it. So it's a great way to use notes in the end as well.
Yep, and in organization, like Landon was saying, all the content is in one place. Usually teachers post it for like the week, and you just do it at your own pace, just have a due date, have a start date. So that's really nice that you don't have to go to class and then figure out that you have like homework due the next class. Like it's all basically weekly. And it just fits around your schedule better, because you know your schedule and you know when you can do certain classes and on certain days what homework you can do to go to that date when everything is due.
And it's such a time management thing. I think we've all gained a lot of time management skills. If, you have a class that you just have to do. A lot of my classes were on Sundays. You had stuff due. And so you were the person that were in charge of saying, all right, I have this going on, but this is when I need to get this done and when it's due. So this is when I have to make sure I'm taking the time to do it. And I think I gained a lot of skills from that as well.
And it's amazing to be able just to like wake up, put a shirt on, roll over, and then like start your class.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So in virtual learning, according to the U.S. today, when it comes to the difference between passing and failing on campus, courses had a better outcome. Researchers found that 63% of students pass traditional courses, but just 56% pass online courses. So that's saying that there's a better passing in person, which kind of makes sense because it has like the face-to-face interaction. Some students go into online classes with the wrong impression. And I know this, growing up, I did this too. I thought that online classes would always be easier because I don't really know. I just said that you're not in class, so it just seems easier. But I found out that's not the case too, as USA Today said too. Most students taking online classes tend to put off their work until the last minute and then rush to turn anything in, or they never turn it at all. There's a lack of face-to-face communication with professors and students, which leads to some students feeling isolated or disengaged.
Yeah, I think online classes definitely have a stigma to them. I know all of us probably going to college, we're going to go for in-person classes, and we're going to be present, we're going to meet people. But I don't think people realize that there are benefits to taking the online classes. I know it doesn't feel like that when we have tons of them, and that's what we are being forced to do due to our global situation. But it really can help us. I know I like taking I figured out one online class just a semester. It gives me flexibility to focus on the work for that class, but it also allows me to enjoy most of my classes in person, get to meet people, but just to know that I do have one class that I can do that for.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's like the stuff they have on here, especially for this, if you take an online class that's a scheduled online class, I think then it could be different, and you might have, it might be easier, it might be harder. But now for the online classes, you're taking in-person material and content and translating them to online. So don't think at all that your online classes will be easier for it, because we were taking the same content information that was in in-person classes and just transferring that online. So, and I have not found, and I don't know if either of you have, that online classes are easier. Honestly, it feels like they're harder sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that's real, but I also don't think that's a lack of communication or engagement or anything. And that's at your own. You have to be engaged in it. You have to be attentive. But for the most part, that work's still out there. They give you, all your notes are still right in front of you. Online classes, it's 100% no excuse. like fully your responsibility. I mean, you know, your own schedule, you're at home, it's all on you, but everything's right in front of you. And that's the best thing about it.
And it's interesting to hear people talk during all of this about, I've heard so many people say, I'm not an online learner. I'm not an online learner. This isn't what I'm used to, but I get so much more out of in-person classes. But it's interesting to see after time that people have slowly started to say, oh, well, I've never really done this before. I don't think they knew there is no technical definition, but an online learner and learning through technology, I think, again, there's a stigma to that. There's a pre-associated feeling with doing that online. And I think a lot of people have realized what that entails. And it's again, like you said, there's no excuse for not getting anything done. It's definitely not easier by any means, but it's, I think, allowed some people to have access to it and now go, oh, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, that's how I mean, I get distracted so easily, and I'm horrible online, but it's all stuff you can fix. No one else is doing it to you. You know, it's easy. It's not easy to change, but you'll adapt. And college is a big part. You know, you have to be adaptable. So
yeah.
That's how it is.
And steps for success for virtual learning. So according to Best Colleges, these are some good steps that they give for student success. So don't think your college course will be easy just because it is online. Just like we were talking about, just because it's online, because you're not in person, there's a whole accountability thing, being adaptable, like we just talked about. You have to be confident in yourself and your abilities, but you also can't be overconfident and think that this will be easy just because it is online and you're not in person, surrounded by people. I guess, you know, you have to be on time, things like that, but still applies online. And don't wait until the last minute. You're just putting yourself at risk by not finishing or, you know, only turning in 50% of the effort that you could have given into it. You definitely could put the same amount of time or more given the circumstances, and give yourself that time to complete it. Again, just because it's online, just because you think it's at your fingertips, does not mean that at all. You have to go and you still have to do the work. You still have to write the paper. You still have to do the math problems. You still have to put in that same effort to get the return that you want. And avoid feeling disengaged by the lack of face-to-face. There's still plenty of ways to do it, like we're doing now over the Zoom. You can still be very connected. You can still have great discussions. In fact, you can have even more discussion because you can set up Zooms and you can set up conversations with people and discuss the content that's being discussed if you don't understand it, if you want to elaborate more, and take advantage of it. Reach out. I know that I have felt more confident reaching out to professors because, I mean, I'm not super intimidated by face-to-face, but it makes you feel more involved with what you're doing because there is that lack of face-to-face, so you can feel more involved and have that opportunity. And I know a lot of professors a lot more during this time.
I thought we lost you for a second. I was going to talk about technical.
That was scary.
It froze. That's all right. We still got you. But yeah, definitely. Mariah, anything to add?
I would like to add that even my professors now are emailing me, reaching out and saying, like, if you want to set up a face-to-face, or not face-to-face, an online, I guess online face-to-face, just a meeting, just 1v1, then we can. Like, I just think that's really cool and a way to interact, even though all of our classes, not all of them, but a lot of our classes are moved online due to COVID.
Especially because our professors just want to get to know us. Like, they're not going to get that initial face-to-face meeting, getting names. I know one of my professors said, I'm just going to allot this whole week for if you just want to email me and say, I'd just like to get to know you and, you know, talk about the subject if you're interested in it more. That would be a great way to do it. And just have a conversation, get to know the professor. You could still do that because it's still an option.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So in-person learning, you know, it's different. It's good for people who need the face-to-face interaction. And it also works. I mean, it works the same as online and in-person are the same. We just need to make them the same. We haven't done that. So, I mean, it allows so much. Anyone who's socially anxious will have that opportunity to kind of, you know, remove yourself, but then still be able to talk to people and everything. You know, a lot of people are intimidated with face-to-face interactions. And it's different now. that we're removed from the campus, we're online, you're at your own comfort, and all of that stuff. So it's good. It's good for a lot of my friends that I've talked to, and it's been good for me as well. And even with that, it allows you to really solidify your schedule and your routine, and really get that self-discipline for you to really make the fall and spring semester work, and however much longer we go on for all of this. With in-person learning, though, you do lose a few things when you go online, and it's hard, I think, for like science and arts, nursing's on there. It's hard to have some of those online. But at the end of the day, I know a bunch of people are disappointed that a bunch of their classes are online. They're missing out on opportunities. I've missed a bunch of opportunities, but we're all in the same boat. So you'll have some challenging courses, but there's nothing to beat yourself up about with it. We'll return to it at some point, and we're all taking a pause. It's not like you're just being thrown down. Everyone has been pushed back. We've all kind of had to put our lives on pause and kind of reconfigure how we're going to finish our years in college. And that's across the board. So definitely it will improve eventually, but for right now, it's a level playing field for all of us.
And I think it's amazing too, I think this time and all of our hardship, because everyone's been in the same boat, like you said. The amount of things and opportunities and just, I don't know, pure things that can only happen during this time of COVID in 2020 that people are still doing. They're still trying to make those opportunities. They're still trying to help people out. They're still, like you were talking about the theater and all the art majors and nursing, like all those opportunities that they're still trying to do. They're trying to expand their way of thinking and trying different things. And I don't think, obviously, they wouldn't have done that if it weren't for this. And there are still a lot of positives, and just a really good point of noting how we can take things like this and still, advance what we want to know, advance our passions.
100%. 100%. So quickly, I guess we'll go through kind of how the last spring ended, when we kind of had to make that jump from in-person to online pretty quick around spring break. And then how that worked for us, and then how we're looking for this semester with the knowledge of what online classes was like at the end of last year.
I guess I'll go first, the first picture. But the end of the spring, it was for sure hard to adjust, and that's when I think it was it spring break, and then we didn't come back. And I know that was hard for the teachers too, because they had maybe a week notice or something like that. It was all crazy. So it was hard for the teachers to get everything online. And of course it would be hard for the students because we didn't know what was happening. So that was kind of interesting to get everything done, but everything's done. This fall, I personally do like in-person classes, but I have one in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Somehow it got pushed to a classroom that can fit everyone, which is, I'm lucky to have that. And then I have an online synchronized class, which is also still nice, but it won't be a classroom setting. It would just be like Zoom for the teacher, but at least I'm glad the teacher is willing to do face-to-face, like a live kind of action, not just a recording of it or just a recorded lecture and put it online. And then I have a lab. So I think a lot of labs are in person, which is good because mine's an accounting lab, but for like the nursing majors and all that stuff that you need to learn hands-on, I'm just glad and hope that those students can do it in person so they can learn that way.
Yeah, that's great. Mine was much harder than that. Like I said, I was an awful online learner. And I can tell you my grades dropped significantly when we came back online, but it was at my own expense. Like, it was my mistakes, and I'll own up to that. Pass, fail really helped me out. But I know what to fix now. And it was my time management was the issue, that I wasn't disciplined. I kind of just pushed it all off, and it really came back to bite me in the end. But I finished on a high note, and I'm really excited for the fall, just knowing that, you can make your schedule much better, and get back to the college life. Like, that's what I'm ready for.
Yeah. Kind of same with them. I was thrown off by the whole thing. I remember reading about the beginning of everything. I think somewhere on social media, a case that popped up, and going, oh, okay. You kind of dismiss it offhand when you hear about something and you go, that's not affecting me. Okay. and then it comes and it keeps growing. And then obviously it takes part of last semester, but it really changed, I think, how I thought I could learn and how I did end up learning. With, like you said earlier, you can like post the lecture online. I really enjoyed that you could just, that was always there. That was a constant. You could go back, read those notes. But I had a lot of gen ed classes that I was taking. So I had a range of professors, and they were all great about communicating again about the classwork, making sure we had enough time to complete it. And then on the other side of that, making sure that we had the proper conditions to be okay, to thrive as students, and just as human beings, that were making sure they were being fed and had proper places to work and things like that. And I feel like I did okay last semester, and I worked to whatever I could, but I am excited to see how this fall will play out, just because of the various mixtures that everyone will have, and everyone has a very different class schedule. Some people have all online. I know some people that have pretty much all their classes in person. So it'll be interesting to not only focus on what we're doing, because I have online and in person, but to hear the stories and testimonials, I guess, from other people who will be in different situations than we are.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, so there all our information is. I think the biggest thing to take away is really just, it's all you. It's all you. In colleges, what you can make of it. Really, though, I do recommend recording classes. Like, I hadn't said that before this, and now that I said it, it's really good. So you can always have those lectures on hand. Yeah. Any other last bits of advice?
No, just be confident in what you're doing. Don't give up. Don't try to be less of who you are as an individual or a student. Just because it's a different means of learning, you can do it and connect to other people who can help you. You got this. It's going to be different, but we all just have to try our best. And again, big word of the year, I think, is adaptability, and making sure that, we don't just have our fixed ways, that we can do it, and we're going to get through it.
And email your professors, because they wouldn't be teachers if they didn't want to help us out. So they're the same boat. They're adapting to, it's a huge change. Like, they are used to, unless they're online only, they're used to, seeing us students in the classroom, and we're used to seeing them. So it's just a whole thing. So email your professors, because they're going to want to help you.
And same with that. If anyone has any questions or needs any assistance ever, I think all three of us are more than willing to help and answer whatever we can. So feel free to reach out whenever. Well, this was good work, everyone.